Hello, Pod Smashers of the Internet, and welcome to another episode of
80-bit Podsmash. All right, we are your hosts, Penguin and Termite, and 80-bit Podsmash is where gaming goes to grab a beer. That was bad. Do it again.
That was a horrible take.
Do it again. Your finger's in the way.
That's what she said. That's a still bad take.
Get it to the glass. These are awful glasses. Use the bottle.
Hey, there we go. We'll do that. Where gaming goes to grab a beer. That's still pretty weak.
Come on.
There we go. We're gonna shatter. We're gonna shatter the glass. Is what's gonna happen.
Where gaming
so
goes
loud.
to shatter glass in my eyes. Well, that was incredibly awkward.
Our
start.
80-bit Pod Smash. We are a weekly video game show smashing together the ideas of video games with topics that you care about.
And tonight's topic that you will care about is
Mortal Kombat.
It's the next in our series. We have several series, and one of those is we call them everything, and they're everything we can talk about a specific video game franchise. So we've done everything Zelda, we've done everything Mario, we've done everything Pokemon, and now we're doing everything Mortal Kombat.
Didn't we do a Final Fantasy one too?
We did do a Final Fantasy one. So this will actually be our first Western.
Hey, how about that?
Video game that we're doing in a franchise that we're doing in everything.
Yeah.
For. So, yes.
In case you guys didn't know, that was a very awkward rendition of the theme song from the movie and the commercials for the original game.
Yeah.
Which was a techno song by the band called the Immortals.
Yep.
In the 90s.
Getting all that fun
so it was
details. What are we drinking tonight since we are where gaming goes to grab a beer?
Termite actually bought the beer this time after consuming much of Penguin's free beer over the last multiple weeks.
Oh, yes.
And when Termite buys beer, he buys things he likes. And I like talking about myself in the third person. So we have an IPA, which Penguin hates.
I don't hate IPAs.
Yeah, you do.
I don't.
You hate them.
I hate them on principle, not on actual taste.
What's there to dude? The whole IPA beer snub thing is totally like 2015.
OMG, that was so 2015.
It's totally gone now.
We're all just lovers and
there's that whole like IPA pretentiousness is gone. At least I haven't experienced
whatever. That's fine.
Since then.
It's fine. Anyway, it's fine. They are fine things to drink. It's better an IPA than no beer at all.
Do you enjoy IPAs?
Some IPAs I enjoy. I really do. Honestly, 100%, I can say with trueness, I really enjoy 120-minute IPA. It is an excellent
It's amazing.
beer.
It's one of my favorites of all time by my favorite brewery.
Yeah.
That's not what we're drinking
Of course,
tonight.
it's more like wine than it is.
Almost,
It's more like, I think I've heard it described as it's closer to whiskey than wine. So, whatever.
Powerful.
No, that's not what we're drinking tonight. What are we drinking tonight? You just have said it's an IPA.
Are drinking Evolution Craft Brewing's Lot Number 3 IPA. And I don't know what that means, Lot Number 3. And there's no description to read to you guys, so unfortunately we have to go on our own tasting notes. And so I definitely get the hop citrusy kind of.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's definitely citrus. It's fruity.
There's a funk on it that I enjoy.
Yeah, there's a funk. I get the funk. It's like a backwash funk.
Mm-hmm. And the body is it's slightly hazy. It's not see-through, but it's also not
it's very
cloudy.
Pleasantly amber, I would say. Like it's a nice amber colored beer. I feel like I'm actually drinking a beer. You know what I mean? Like I don't get anything else. I mean, I get the hoppiness and the funkiness, but like it's the experience of it. It feels very much like a beer in my mouth.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, medium bodied. It's not too thick. It's not like water, like a Pilsner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
cool. It's good.
It's delicious.
It's all right. It's an IPA.
I would give it a 3.5 out of 5.
I'd give it a 1 IPA out of IPA.
But you hate them on principle. So how are you enjoying Anthem right now?
I'm not. I just...
Speaking of enjoying things or hating them on principle, how about that Epic Game Store for you? Enjoying that?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah.
Neither of those things am I currently playing or enjoying. So, yeah. Yep. So, what is going on in the world of gaming, which is where we'd like to start each of our episodes, just kind of updating on either, what's going on in your life and or gaming, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm running a marathon this Sunday, so it's coming to an end. The training cycle is over. This is taper week. I probably shouldn't be drinking a beer.
I would be more excited for you if I didn't have a bit of a cold, and you know how like when you have a cold and are feeling under the weather and the idea of exercise just sounds awful.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing about you running a marathon makes me imagine running a marathon feeling the way I feel right now, and not excited about that.
Yeah, I'm coming down with something too.
Yeah,
and I'm
sorry.
going to run this race regardless of how I feel.
Yeah.
So maybe a fever would stop.
You
me,
have
but-
better discipline than I do.
Well, there's that. Thank you.
Yes, Termite, I will unequivocally say that Termite is more disciplined than Penguin, period.
That's why we're 83 episodes in.
Yo!
Your words, not mine.
Yeah, that's true. They are my words.
So the only like a big gaming thing discussion, I wouldn't even call it a controversy, but there has been a big conversation in accessibility about Sekiro.
Oh, really?
Shadows Die Twice.
Yeah.
And apparently there is this
Yeah, for like several weeks in a
Able
row
gamers-
of like... For several weeks in a row of very, very heavy gaming news.
yeah.
It's been a pretty slow week.
Yeah.
But,
this
sorry,
is
I didn't
the
mean to
only-
interrupt you.
it's
Go
fine.
on.
So Able Gamers is an organization that looks out for disabled gamers, and they're like pushing the envelope as far as bringing the conversation forward. They definitely influenced Microsoft's controller.
Yeah.
So there's been discussion about whether there should be easy mode or some sort of like difficulty adjusting in Sekiro or any of the Dark Souls games, Bloodborne type. Those because they're so hard. And then so there's people that are like, oh, you can't take the developer's artistic vision of the game away by dampening its difficulty because that's all part of the package. And at the same time, people are like, well, you need to make it accessible so that everybody can enjoy it. You don't want to exclude folks because of accessibility. So there's been this back and forth. I've heard murmurs and rumors. I think it's fascinating to even think about because I didn't.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think it's way, way deeper than just, do you want to add an easy mode to your game? As opposed to one-button modes, colorblind modes, etc., are different things for accessibility to allow disabled gamers to play. And I don't know, I just never really thought about it until...
that's a very interesting discussion because, and I would agree that it's complicated because on the one hand, I believe that everyone should be able to enjoy games, but I also believe that game makers and content creators should be able to do what they want artistically as well.
Almost like it's not a bad thing to not include accessibility,
right?
And it's a very good thing to include it.
Yeah,
like,
that's kind of where I
shamed
land.
or like you shouldn't be lambasted because you don't have difficulty sliders in your game.
Yeah,
but it'd be nice if you knew that you were thinking about disabled gamers. And
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want to speak. You know what? I better just not. I better just not speak for disabled gamers because I'm not a disabled gamer.
And
so
that's where we come from.
I do have to wonder how much. I will say I would be very interested in hearing what an actual disabled gamer's perspective is. So if you are a disabled gamer and feel very passionately about the topic and have that perspective, hit us up. Let us know what your thoughts are because we'd love to hear from you about whatever your thoughts are on like difficult, like games that are designed specifically to be difficult that are artistically made to be difficult.
Right.
Like, do you think that developers should compromise their vision for accessibility purposes?
Or is it even a compromise?
Is it even? Yeah, that's a good question.
That's a good question, too.
Yeah, so let us know what your thoughts are. That's not what today's topic is about at all, but it is a very interesting conversation.
The only thing that's happened that's kind of
notable for you. Yeah,
after the Borderlands, the hype train went out and all that stuff.
Yeah, the last big Borderlands thing was the Epic Game Store exclusivity 6-month deal, which, all things considered, I think that for Borderlands fans who hate the Epic Game Store and are planning to pay it on PC, it sucks, but it's not a bad deal, all things considered. It could have been a year, you know? So at least you'll get Borderlands in April 2020 and not in September 2020. Not the end of the world. Sucks.
We should do an entire
world.
revisit of the Epic Games versus Steam discussion.
No, it's too soon.
I'm still way too confused
soon.
about any of the backlash at all.
It's too soon.
And so
it's fine. No, we just
Tom
talked
Sweeney
about
has
it.
a giant slew of tweets that comes out that just... It's awesome. Everything he's saying. He's the guy who's like running the Epic Game Store. He's the head CEO.
Of course, he would have.
But like what he's saying, the transparency. There's like everything. Everyone's trying to say that Epic Games is like backhanded or twisted or trying to change things, and he describes their motivations. He's completely transparent. There's like they're not doing anything shady at all, and he's just completely out there with it. And so we should revisit that debate.
I don't want to.
Why?
Because we just talked about it, and I'm sick of talking about it. I'm sick of thinking about it, and I just don't want to talk about it.
Well, I'm tired of the negativity around it. I don't think it's deserved.
Okay,
so
we're not going to have this discussion right now. We're going to talk about Mortal Kombat, something fun and exciting.
So we're going to take it out on Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, we'll take it out on Mortal Kombat. We'll let Mortal Kombat decide. Throw the CEO of Valve and the CEO of Epic Games in a pit and make them fight. No, I think it'll be more fun to make them not fight, but play Mortal Kombat.
Oh, I see. Right.
So let Mortal Kombat decide. All right, let's clearly not talk about one of Penguin's least favorite things to talk about instead. Doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Favorite things.
I really had to burp at the end of that.
I know. It's pretty funny.
And I held it in so that it wouldn't go into the mic.
You did some pretty good like core movement to get away from the microphone in order to burp right there. You're like, woo! It was like hula dancing. It was pretty awesome.
I wish you guys could see it.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So Favorite Things is a segment in our podcast where we like to talk about our favorite thing for the week. Mm-hmm. So whatever is interesting and intriguing to us that we think you might enjoy as well. So that, yeah, the purpose is so that you might find your new favorite thing. Hit me with your best shot.
I'm not going to fire away. Or I'm not throwing away my shot.
Are you not?
I'm not.
Okay.
So my favorite thing is ice cream on the deck on a warm, an unusually warmer day for this time of year.
Yeah.
That's what happened twice this week.
It's been really nice.
It's been in like the 70s, mid 70s in the evening, and the sun is setting, and we have this nice new deck that we put on our house like a year ago. So we haven't, it's still new.
Yeah.
And so it like a couple nights, Alex, my wife, and I, and our son went outside and had a dessert. Because like we'd eat either at a restaurant or we ate at home. And that's always a tizzy and a craziness trying to get him to eat. And like it's not really relaxing, but he'll definitely eat ice cream anywhere. So like let's go outside and we'll enjoy our deck and the weather.
What kind of ice cream did you have?
It is Bluebell, which is also my favorite thing because they brought it back. Yeah. It went out of business almost entirely because of some E. coli breakout thing.
Oh, yeah?
And it's a small distribution from Texas. They brought it all back. It's brand new this year. And so all of our favorite flavors, it's the best store-bought ice cream you can buy.
Nice.
It's better than anything.
Which flavor did you eat?
Banana pudding.
Interesting.
Which is amazing.
Interesting choice.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to have something like soft consistency that tastes like bananas, why not just have banana pudding?
Because ice cream is better.
I suppose you're not wrong about that.
Ice cream is also my favorite dessert type of all things.
Yeah.
So if you give me any flavor of pudding and any flavor of ice cream, I'm going to go for the ice cream.
You go for the ice cream of that flavor. Right. I'm assuming the same flavor. Yeah.
I think I would go for ice cream anywhere because it's just better than all puddings.
I think I would agree with that.
Yeah, I love ice cream.
I would say that it's not my favorite dessert in the world, but it definitely is a few rungs higher than pudding, like on the chart of hierarchy, dessert hierarchy. Nice. My favorite thing is also food related. So my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are visiting for the week and to see my baby, and they are considering moving to the area back to Virginia. They currently live in North Carolina, and in the conversations we've been having about moving, one of their like regrets is they have a barbecue place down in Asheville that they love. It's called Haywood Smokehouse, and it is really good barbecue. Every time I go down there, it's really good barbecue. So they've been worried. They're like, well, what if we can't find like an equivalently good barbecue place in Virginia? Which is a fair fear because, you know, barbecue, the further south you get, I feel like the better the barbecue gets.
Yeah.
For those of you who may be northerners and don't truly understand the joy of southern barbecue, it's amazing. Whether it's pork or beef brisket.
Where does it peak on the geography of the country?
I don't know. I would be interested to find that out. So for people who have more time on their hands and of fascination and interest with southern barbecue, I'll leave that up for them to decide. Okay. That said, so we went to this place in Richmond. So I researched this place. There's a place in Richmond, and it's supposedly the 33rd best barbecue place in the country.
Okay.
And it's been voted the best barbecue place in Virginia.
Ah.
It's called ZZQ Texas Barbecue, and it was awesome. It was a little pricey, and I feel like there wasn't as much like quantity as I would have wanted. But like between the four of us, we spent like $60 and got like 2 pounds of meat and a pound of jalapeno mac and cheese, and we split amongst all of us, and it was superb, excellent, and the customer service is good too. Like all the guys, it was kind of like Subway style where they had like you get in a line and then you get up and you order what you want. And they like chop it up and put it into stuff for you, or put it on a platter for you if you're eating in the restaurant.
We got barbecue for once.
Yeah,
Fredericksburg.
And they were slow that day. The Sunday we were there, they were slow. So we had ordered brisket, and they were like, so normally, like if we're busy, we we like cut the butt ends, because apparently the burnt ends of what they're called, and for brisket are like the choicest pieces of the meat on the entire thing. And they said normally we like set those aside and sell those like for an extra upcharge on like busy days, because people really love the burnt ends. He's like, but because it's slow, I'm gonna just cut some up for you and have you guys just let you have a taste. So they like cut up this burnt end and just like handed us like these slices of meat, and then they used the rest of it and put it as our part of our share for no extra upcharge. And it was so juicy and flavorful, and like again, it's burnt end, so it's like crispy, a little crispy on the outside. And I was just like, "This is meat the way God intended it." It was very, very good barbecue. Again, a little pricey, and for the amount that we paid for it, I wish we'd gotten a little bit more. But just for like, if you are looking for quality barbecue in Virginia, check out ZZQ in Richmond. That's my shameless plug for someone else's restaurant.
So if anybody goes to ZZQ in Richmond, they should take a picture of themselves on Instagram and tag us.
Tag us, yeah.
And you can tag us on Instagram at 80-bit Podsmash, where you can find us also on Twitter and Facebook and our own subreddit, 80-bit Podsmash, 80bit Podsmash. Hit us up on 80bitpodsmash.com. You can find links to our Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, etc. If we are on a platform of your choice that we don't exist, if there is a platform of your choice that we don't exist on, let us know and we'll put ourselves there.
Yeah. One more final little note about ZZQ. That I'm just thinking about now. I really want to go down there and eat food from their restaurant, like in the restaurant, because it's literally a block away, like on the same block as one of my favorite Richmond breweries, which is Ardent. And I didn't get to go this time to Ardent, but because we were just getting food to go. But I saw that it was so close to Ardent that I'm like,
you could do.
Gotta make a day trip. Gotta go get barbecue and then go get drinks.
But you could take the barbecue to Ardent.
Probably, yeah. Good to go. Take it there and eat. Day trip. Penguin and Termite, ZZQ, and Ardent.
Yes.
All right. That's favorite things. Yay! Favorite things is done. So now we can move on to our next segment of our podcast, which is
DLC.
Downloadable content. It's a segment of our podcast where we like to have a fun little fun game or fun discussion. That's usually something that you wouldn't necessarily think that you would have about video games, because it's totally not serious and much more fun. It's become a tradition with our everything episodes to do trivia about that franchise.
Trivia.
So, since we're talking about Mortal Kombat tonight, we're going to do Mortal Kombat trivia. We have a running tally going, and I'm not quite sure. Are we tied, or is one of us ahead?
I don't remember. So, sharp-eared, sharp-memoried listeners will probably know who will come out on top after this trivia based on who wins. So we need to have a community manager, somebody that keeps track of this.
Yeah, definitely.
That can go on Reddit and be like,
So submit your resumes at 80bitpodsmash@gmail.com.
and you'll get the same salary that we get.
Yep. 0.
Nothing.
How many zeros? 1 0. Just
Infinite
1 0.
zeros. It doesn't matter. It's all
exactly.
The same.
Yes. So many zeros.
Speaking of that, in elementary school, the teacher said that.
Will this count against me?
No, it has nothing to do with trivia.
Oh, okay.
This is a total termite tangent. Termite tangent. I'm off my game. I don't know what's going on. Elementary school teacher told us that in math. It doesn't matter how many zeros are at the end, because it's 0. So there was a math question that answered at 0. So I just put a string of zeros on the page to be funny, and I got it wrong. And I was like, that's messed
stupid.
up.
No, that's wrong. That's messed up.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Still
you
0.
deserve vindication.
Yes.
You deserve that one slight, tiny, minuscule point bump in your GPA.
Which is a slight, minuscule bump in my confidence, which then increases my GPA exponentially through college.
Oh, I see.
You see that? It's a butterfly effect, baby.
It is a butterfly effect. We're going to go back in time.
Yes.
All right? We're going to build a time machine just for that one purpose. Just to see how high you can fly.
My grades were fine. I did very well in school.
Oh, brag about it, huh? That was a nice little humble brag you have there.
I'm not going to say what my GPA is
I know.
or the specifics. I'm just saying I was not one of them struggling school kids.
Yeah, I got you.
And them struggling school kids have reasons to be struggling school kids. And they go through a lot more than I have. I'm privileged.
All right, trivia. Bum 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 bum. I gotta keep you on track tonight.
Yeah, so I'm off. All right, let's
go. So, do you want to go first?
I do.
All right, question 1.
I love my first question. I hope you didn't steal it.
Question 1 from Termite. Go.
What is the secret code to enable blood in the Sega Genesis Mortal Kombat 1?
Oh, crap, I read it today. Hold on, I got it. Hold on. A, B, A C A B B B or something like that.
You had one too many B's.
Oh, really?
Yep. ABACABB.
Can I get like 0.9 points worth of that?
If you would have stopped at 2 B's, it would have been correct.
No,
You kept going. You were so close.
Oh man.
Some people call it abacab.
I was right though, right? ABACABB.
CABB.
Oh man, just one extra B. All right, fine. All right, my first question for you.
Okay.
What actor was the character of Johnny Cage based off of? Famous actor.
I know this.
Just like I know Abacab.
Right?
You have 5 seconds.
I know. I'm like thinking of all of the 90s famous actors, but I can't. I want to say Jean-Claude Van Damme, but...
Oh, that's it.
Yes.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. Point for
not
Termite.
confident.
Oh, man. You almost just didn't say anything. Ooh, you got lucky. All right.
Awesome.
Question number 2.
Who is the secret character in Mortal Kombat 1 who's not playable until Mortal Kombat 2? And that's a hint for you.
It's not playable. It's a reptile?
Yes.
Yes.
Good job.
See, I did my research. I read the stuff.
I shouldn't have given you that hint, but I did.
Yeah. All right. There's another character I read about, but I think it was the hint was that it was Mortal Kombat 2. Because there was another character I think in Mortal Kombat 2 that shows up in Mortal Kombat 3 or something like that. But I don't remember who. It was like
exactly
some
who
girl.
that is. Yep.
It was some girl, but I don't remember the name.
You might ask me, so I'm not going to say.
I'm not. I'm not asking you that.
It's Jade.
Was it Jade?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what was the size of the crew, the development crew that made the original Mortal Kombat?
12?
4.
Oh, wow.
They made it with 4 people.
Jeez.
I know, right? It's crazy.
All right, we're still tied.
All right,
Question 3 for me. Who's the final boss in both Mortal Kombat 2 and 3?
The only final boss I'm aware of is Shao Kahn.
Yeah, that's it.
Is him? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So it's 2 for me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. What character in Mortal Kombat 1 is the only character whose fatality does not kill his or her opponent?
Liu Kang.
That's it.
Yeah,
Correct.
I had to run through every fatality in my head, and I was like, which one might not die?
Wow, yeah.
And yeah, Liu Kang.
Oh, nice.
So now we're tied again.
We're tied. Oh, gosh, guys, it's tight.
All right, these questions...
It's not as close as a Mortal Kombat game.
Yeah, it is. How about that? These are really easy questions because you have told me that you're not well-versed in Mortal Kombat, so I'm throwing you some lowball things here.
Thank you. I appreciate it because I found I found the hardest but also most interesting ones I could find. Like I was looking for ones I was like, I hope these are challenging but also interesting to listen to. Okay, go.
Which Mortal Kombat spin-off was the first? It was terribly received both critically and commercially.
Yeah, can I describe it? Do I have to actually name it?
I'd like to have the name.
I know it was a game where it was like an adventure game. You played as Sub-Zero and like it was like a beat 'em up, but like it didn't have the directional controls, or like you could only look at one thing at a time. So you had to change the directions. I just right now the name is blanking. Can I get like a half point for it, and it'll only count if we have a tie?
Maybe.
All right. What's the name of the game?
Mortal Kombat Mythologies.
See, I wouldn't have gotten
Sub-Zero.
that.
Yeah.
But I knew it was a Sub-Zero game.
Right. Well, Sub-Zero's in the title.
I'm claiming a half point, and that only counts.
Same with the Abacababa.
Yeah.
Abacababa.
I'm at like 4.3 right now if you actually add up the
So how many?
half points.
We're tied at 3 each?
I think we're tied at 2 each, aren't we?
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Okay. All right. In the SNES version, they had a different name for fatalities. What was it?
SNES version of what?
Of Mortal Kombat 1.
The first one?
Mm-hmm, yep.
No, they were fatalities.
Not according to my research. They were called finishing moves.
It definitely says fatality at the end. I don't know what nomenclature would call them finishing moves.
Mine was according to IMDb, so I don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Like it would make sense if they were printed in the manual as these are how to do the finishing moves, or if it was a player's guide that said these are the list of finishing moves. But in the game, if you do it, it says fatality. So they're called that in the game.
Maybe we'll strike that one.
Do you have a backup question?
I don't have a backup question.
All right. Here's your 5th question.
All right.
I don't know what else to do.
It's fine. It'll only, again, that will be one. It's like a
tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Now we each have a tiebreaker in our back pocket.
It's
so now
fine.
we're tied in our tiebreakers.
My tiebreaker is the B that I just didn't miss.
All right. What's Johnny Cage's signature special move that he does in every iteration of Mortal Kombat?
Is it the one where he like punches your head off 3 times? His fatality?
That's a fatality in Mortal Kombat 2 specifically.
I don't know what his signature move is.
It's a special move. You can do it anytime. It's not a fatality. It's the splits and punches you in the balls.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, he does it through every game.
Okay. All right. My last question is, which of the original Mortal Kombat creators voiced Scorpion in the movie.
I didn't even know he did.
Mm-hmm. One of
John
them
Tobias.
Did. Nope, it was Ed Boon.
Dang it. I was 50-50 shot. This is two of them.
Yep.
Ah.
Okay, so what does that mean? Does that mean I win?
That we're tied. And I had one tiebreaker. But I also answered your question about Jade as a bonus. So we're just even.
Let's call it a tie?
Yeah, we're all even.
All right, it's tied
Too
up.
many technicalities.
Too many technicalities. Yep, no
Yeah.
fatalities. Maybe if someone listens back to this and realizes that there was the one edge that one of us had over the other, they can like tell us about
We're putting
it.
a lot on our audience this
We are
episode.
good. They need a lot on their shoulders. They need more stress in their lives. Clearly.
Yeah, sure. Go back and listen to every episode we've ever done and follow up on all of the trivia we've ever done. And please
Who's
keep us in
ahead?
line.
All right, we'll call it a tie for now. So
Yep.
draw.
That's not what happens when you. It's just. I don't even know what happens. They just.
Draw.
Sure.
All right, that was DLC.
Bow, bow, bow.
All right, everything Mortal Kombat. You can tell we're excited about this. I really have a special place in my heart for Mortal Kombat, even though I haven't bought all of the games and played all of the games and know all the stuff about it. It really is a fighting game franchise that has, had an impact on my life. How? Because I have like good memories of like, again, even though I never owned it and I never owned it and I never bought it, probably wasn't even supposed to be playing it. I have fond memories of like going over to my friend's house and we'd play it actually on the PC, ironically enough. We played Mortal Kombat. I think it was Mortal Kombat Trilogy, because I remember in the research that we were doing, Mortal Kombat 3 had like cut characters, and when they listed off the characters they cut, I was like, but I thought it had them.
There was an Ultimate Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, it was Ultimate Mortal Kombat, and then there was Mortal Kombat Trilogies that had every character in it. And so I think it was either Mortal Kombat Trilogies or it was Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. So
yeah,
there was, because I remember all those characters. I'm like, I know those guys. Like I know those. I played those.
Yeah.
But I remember it being 3 because I remember 4 made the switch to like 3D.
That was almost one of my trivia questions.
Oh yeah,
which one was the first? 3D
I would have gotten
one?
that one right.
Yep.
I very clearly remember like the switch to 3D, like the jump to 3D. I remember that being like a big deal to me in my child brain. So Mortal Kombat 3 though is probably the one that I have the most experience with of them all, and fond memories of it.
Yeah.
And like again, I eventually had more of a fondness for fighting games such as Killer Instinct and Soul Calibur, but Mortal Kombat's kind of always there. Like I think Mortal Kombat probably was like objectively my first fighting game. Like I love, in hindsight, I love Street Combat, Tekken, and all those kind of originators, but like Mortal Kombat is the one that I'm like, yeah, that's my fighting game.
Mortal Kombat actually came out right before Street Fighter 2 in the arcades.
Oh, nice.
It was September 93 was Mortal Kombat 1, and then later that year, at the end of 93, was Street Fighter 2. But I was like obsessed with it as a kid.
Yeah.
My brother and I, we got it for Sega Genesis, which is really cool that we just picked up that copy. We were just playing it before we recorded this episode. Messing around with it. We discovered the blood code. I don't remember where it came from. Who told us what it was? Because there was no internet back then.
Yeah, so some kid at school, more than likely. That's all I could imagine.
I guess. And my brother and I just played hours upon hours. Like the sounds of this, because I haven't fired up the original Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis. Like I said, we just picked it up again as an adult. For the first time, I've seen that in like 20 years.
Yeah.
And so like hearing all the sounds again, like it just brought back all these memories. I was so into Mortal Kombat. There was a pizza joint next to an arcade in Fredericksburg that we would go to, and they showed off Mortal Kombat 2 when it first launched in the arcade, and there was a line out the door, and it was like this big deal, and I was so excited about it, I lost sleep.
Nice.
Like I could not sleep because I was so excited to play Mortal Kombat 2. And I remember like running up to the screen and watching, and there was all these new fancy animations and more blood and new characters and new stages. I was in.
Mortal Kombat.
And then the Mortal Kombat 3 had come out in arcades, and I first saw it in Disney World back in 95.
Yeah.
And I didn't lose sleep over excitement, but I was super excited about it.
Yeah.
I got Mortal Kombat 3 for Christmas for Super Nintendo.
Nice.
And that's all I wanted to do. We had family come over, and I was like, I did not want to hang out with people. I remember like getting kind of yelled at, or like, it's always a thing to like stop going up there to play. Nobody wants to play that right now. We had player's guides for all of them.
Nice.
And then the jump to 3D, when Mortal Kombat 4 had come out, we had an N64, and I was just like dreaming about the fourth one and like can't wait. And there was like planning vacations around me getting this game and like sinking my teeth into it. And we didn't get it till way later, but I was just so into Mortal Kombat. And then
it's a great franchise, especially for like There was just a Mortal Kombat craze. I feel like it was probably the most popular game for a long time. But yeah, so we'll get more into like the history. But I mean, that's kind of one of our questions. It's funny because we like got right into actually a question that's like 3 questions down, which was what was our first experience. So I went ahead and crossed it off because I'm like, we literally just talked about our first
I don't even know how we came across like first experience. Actually,
Right.
I don't even know how I discovered the first. I'm too young.
I can't remember it. Like I can't have a clear memory of it either. I guess I just went over to a friend's house one day and they were playing Mortal Kombat on their PC.
And I guess we just rented it.
Yeah, I part of the reason why we're doing a Mortal Kombat episode that we didn't even hit on.
Mortal Kombat 11's coming out.
11, the 11th game in the franchise. And you know what's great to see? Like that game hasn't changed a bit. Like obviously, like the game's got better graphics, better animations.
It's way more technical now.
Yeah, definitely, it's improved. Like in modern fighting game standards, but it's still a fighting game, and it's still just like there's like we're leaning into the gore, like we're leaning into the violence aspect of it. It's great. So we'll talk more about that too. So let's just sort of talk about what is Mortal Kombat for those who are living under a rock for the last like 25 years. What's Mortal Kombat? What kind of game is it?
It's a fighting game.
Yep, fighting game.
Just typical like Street Fighter, Tekken. Like,
if you want to know more about fighting games and more of our thoughts on fighting games, we have a whole episode about it in one of our series about genre deep dives. So we did a genre deep dive on fighting games, and it was awesome.
It was a good one.
Yeah, I don't know the exact episode number. We'll like link off to it or something in the footnotes. But
came out, like I said, in '93, right before Street Fighter 2 did.
Yeah, it's like kind of. I mean, I don't know how much we ended up talking about Mortal. It's interesting because I don't think we ended up talking too much about Mortal Kombat.
Well, it's come up in several other episodes. We have an episode about ESRB ratings and how those came about, and Mortal Kombat was quintessential in that. And so we talked about the history of Mortal Kombat a little there.
Yeah.
And then with fighting games in general. And then we also had our 80s deep dive. And we talked about the more like arcades and like so we've touched on danced around it.
But like really when it comes to fighting games, like you think of like the granddaddies of fighter games were things like Street Fighter and like
Mortal Kombat.
I mean, yes, Mortal Kombat's there. I do think that more people think of Street Fighter though when they think of fighter games than Mortal Kombat. But even though Mortal Kombat to me was way more influential, and probably to a lot of people was way more actually influential. And I'm interested to know why that is. I think part of it is just like the game's got a very like 80s action movie vibe to it. Like it's just like whereas Street Fighter has its own style, but the creators of one of my trivia questions I almost pulled was they basically designed every single character after their favorite 80s action stars. Yeah. Like the cybernetic ninjas or whatever were designed after like Terminator, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator, and like I said, Johnny Cage. I keep thinking Luke Cage, but it was Johnny Cage was designed after Van Damme. Like they just who
was in a Street Fighter movie, ironically.
So they just they're definitely like it's pulling from that sort of like 80s Americana. Action. Yeah, it's
like we also touched on this with the marketing and advertising with like it's in your face explosions and lightning and like rah and then techno music built in behind it. I remember the marketing campaign was like kids flooding the streets to the arcade and like Mortal Kombat. They were like yelling it. And it was just so like teenage 90s. You know, it just did that. It was all about it.
It's great. Cool. Do you want to, if you can, like the short version? We have a whole IGN article that we're gonna link off to that goes into like a very detailed.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go through the entire
history. History of it. So if you want to know more about the history and the origins of Mortal Kombat, there's a great article that we're linking off to. He said I had to read it as homework, but it was the most enjoyable homework I've ever had. It was a really fun article. But why don't you hit the highlights of Mortal Kombat's history?
There were 2 arcade companies. Williams was into making pinball machines, and Midway was starting its entry into arcades. And so the 2 merged, and Mortal Kombat came out of the merging of the 2 between 2 creators, Ed Boon, who is a programmer who has a pedigree of having made games in the arcade world, and John Tobias, who was an artist on some of the pinball machines. Okay. So the 2 of those guys got together, I guess, with their big crew of 4.
Oh, yeah. 2 other dudes.
And what they did, and what was iconic about this, because it had never been done on this scale or at this level, was take photorealistic like art, lots of live action motion, and incorporate that into the sprite work and the animation. So it looks like they're actual people. It was to add realism to it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the origins of motion capture as it applies to video games.
Exactly.
It's pretty cool.
And they had done that previously in a game called Pit Fighter, but it didn't catch on as much. I think there's another game called Narc that was like a side-scrolling shooting game that used some live-action stuff. But Mortal Kombat was just like the staple. They did it to a level that had never been done before and a level of quality that worked. Because the characters still feel right. Like you got to match all those animations mechanically with with how the game plays. So yeah, that was all in 1993. Right after that came out, Street Fighter 2 had come out, and they were head-to-head fighting each other.
Yep. Two fighting games fighting each other. It would have been awesome if they had ever gotten to do like a crossover fighting game, Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat. Can you imagine? Wow.
Yeah.
Although, which one would compromise its artistic? Like, would they just make Street Fighter more violent to match it? I don't know.
And then, I mean, I guess we can move forward in their history that they came out with a sequel because it was successful. And they
I was reading that they were expecting it to be just a one and done.
Right.
Like, they weren't expecting it to blow up as much as it did. So then they're like, well, we gotta do a sequel now.
Oh yeah, the biggest thing that was new was the fatalities.
Yeah.
And they were like these super secret hidden moves that no one ever really, they had just figured it out,
Yeah.
I guess. Because like I said, there was no internet, there's no instruction manuals for arcades. And the idea that you could just had no impact on the gameplay and there was no bonus to doing it, but you could murder your opponent.
Right. Just
like actually,
brutally,
blood and
in the
gore,
most violent ways imaginable.
Rip their heart out, pull their head off.
And their spine's dangling from it. It's so violent, but like
at the time was
amazing,
crazy controversial.
Right.
And so with the success of it, they started making the sequel, and they wanted to double everything, double the amount of characters, double the amount of fatalities. They added babalities and friendships. And they added more stages, and they just went bigger and badder. It collected more hype. It got more people involved. The first game, Mortal Kombat 1, had sold 2 million copies like immediately. It was a super, super fast seller. And even though the Super Nintendo had larger sprites, better sound, and better graphics, better color representation, the Genesis one sold more because Sega had blood.
Yep.
And Nintendo censored their game to churn all the blood into gray to make it look like sweat.
Yep.
Yeah. And
so we've talked about that before. It's fascinating.
Some censorship happened. And so the controversy around Mortal Kombat probably fed. Who knows words?
Yeah. Feted, I think, is what the word you're looking for.
Fed fed the hype. And so there was actually legal legislation in the Senate. I remember there was stories of John Tobias getting ridiculously angry at how there are so much worse things in the world to be worried about.
Right.
And why are you using video games as a scapegoat that clearly has no like correlation at all to kid behavior. And there's these other issues at the time that did. And it was a huge, just a cultural phenomenon, close and analogous to what we remember as Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Because I think the Mortal Kombat controversy we were too young for.
A little bit too young for.
And we're in our we're in our lower 30s. So maybe if you're a little older than us,
you remember that.
You could remember it. And it'd be great if you had your, like, if you remember, you could, give us some feedback or hit us up on Reddit and just put like a little blurb about if you remember the legal legislation battle that happened. But
the controversy.
Nintendo always being on the conservative side, wanting to censor, wanting to be family friendly. Yielding to the parents' lobby.
But it actually affected their sales, though. Like, it genuinely flopped on the SNES and was wildly successful on the Sega in comparison. They released a third game, which kind of marks the end of what I would consider the golden age, if you will, of Mortal Kombat. The fourth one was even though I'm sure that it's got its following of fans, it was considered a failure compared to
Mortal Kombat 4 was?
Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. So 3 was kind of their last one. Although even 3 had some unpopular decisions in regards to it cut some characters that were beloved. And like I was reading a list of characters, it was like Scorpion and Raiden and a couple others. And then they had to release Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3
to put them back in.
And then eventually they even did Mortal Kombat Trilogy, which was kind of like a Smash Ultimate situation where they're like, we're bringing everybody back. And so that was popular. So Mortal Kombat 3 was the one that I have the most experience with.
And Mortal Kombat 3 was also one of note to like have a lot of patches.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of iterations even within each version as they were tweaking, because they added a combo system to the game and a run bar. And so there was a little bit more layers of technicality added to the fighting to give it that more like competitive edge than Street Fighter, I guess, at the time. So yeah, I liked 3 a lot, but I do think 3 is weaker of the first 3.
Yeah.
And then 4 I think is even weaker than that. But
so they had some spin-offs that they tried to do after 4 that failed.
As we talked about
really
earlier.
bad. Yeah. And then the game kind of went dormant for a while. Everyone kind of thought it was dead, and then they came back with Mortal Kombat 5, and that kind of marked the first one of the 2000s, right? That was like 2002 or something like that.
It was called Deadly Alliance for GameCube, PS2, Xbox.
Yep. And then since then, they've been churning out Mortal Kombat games pretty consistently to the point where now we're at Mortal Kombat 11 coming out in 2019.
Mortal Kombat Deception, Mortal Kombat Armageddon.
Yeah, I knew you'd know this. Go for it. Keep going. Keep going.
What number is that?
7.
So Mortal Kombat 8 was This is the one I struggle with. I think 8 was actually turned into Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. They were actually making Mortal Kombat 9, and then a whole bunch of stuff happened. Funding-wise, they lost funding and then picked up the DC thing, and there was a big shift financially. It's a fascinating read if you ever want to go research that. So Mortal Kombat 8 was actually Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe.
Cool.
Mortal Kombat 9 was a reboot of the whole franchise called Mortal Kombat for PS3 and Xbox 360. And then Mortal Kombat 10 is the latest one in the entry that we know about. And then there's a Mortal Kombat XL, which is like all the DLC they added. That's when the first one they added like Leatherface and Jason from Friday the 13th,
nice.
Alien, and like
that's
all these
cool. That's cool because again, the Mortal Kombat is such an 80s franchise in the sense that it draws so much inspiration from action movies from the 80s. So having some like the other kind of side of that coin, the side of the 80s violence coin, is the horror movies. Yeah. And so having some horror movies character in there.
So that's really fun. And then of course 11's coming out soon. I can't freaking wait.
Yeah, it fell into a category of games, whether they were fighting games or not, that I kept seeing come up called exploitation.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
And from what I could gather, I didn't really dive into that rabbit hole, but from what I could gather, it was just sort of this idea of like exploiting the violence to draw in sales. And Doom apparently fell in that category as well. Okay. So I think you find that more in the American side of video game design during that time frame than you would see in the Japanese side.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it was sort of a cultural thing, which is ironic too, because Americans at that time were probably considered a more repressed culture. But
in Japan, in anime specifically, in a lot of anime related games, they have this idea called fan service. Is
probably
exploitation kind of analogous to that?
Maybe, but it seems to have a little bit more of a negative connotation. That intentionally was like, oh, you're just trying to exploit the primal urges of teenage boys who just want like to live out their violent fantasies. But like when you actually look, that whole thing breaks down when you look at the fact that like they're still making these games, they're still fun. Like the idea of this affecting like the violent natures. Furthermore, all the body of research that says that video games of any type and any flavor, notwithstanding, is not affecting, like does not affect, like make people more violent.
Right.
You would imagine that at the very least, games like first-person shooters that have you shooting guns, you would think that would probably affect people more than like the outrageous, wild, like itchy and scratchy level violence of Mortal Kombat, where they're like, again, I think I mentioned there was a move in, I think it was 3, where Johnny Cage would punch the people's heads off 3 times. Like he'd punch it and then reattach it and then punch it again and then reattach it. Like this is almost it's ludicrous to the point of like comedic effect. And that's the kind of like violence that we're talking about in Mortal Kombat. But
and in the Mortal Kombat 9, the reboot, they added these X-ray attacks, which are like mini fatalities. In the middle of the fight, you can like shatter bones.
It'll like zoom in and like an X-ray, and you'll see the bones crack. They're doing that with 11 as well.
They've continued. Well, it's in 10, so 9, 10, and 11.
Gotcha.
So this will be the third game where they've gone even crazier with it.
My favorite thing that came out of that is the fact that like before Spider-Man came out, they were showing the new Spider-Man for PS4. They show like Spider-Man like webbing a dude, swinging it around, and then slamming him on the ground. But then they'd zoom in and show like they would just take a clip from Mortal Kombat and show how that would like shatter their spine and ribs. It was like Spider-Man's so violent.
Yeah,
that's so good.
How does Spider-Man get away with it, but Mortal Kombat doesn't?
All right, let's move into when we ever do these favorite or these everythings. We like to talk about kind of our personal favorites or our personal rankings of things. So we're just gonna go through the list and kind of hit them off one by one. So let's first talk. What is your favorite game in the main franchise of Mortal Kombat?
Mortal Kombat 2.
I'm going to say Mortal Kombat 3.
Really? That's fun.
Again, that's the only one I have real experience with, and even though my kid brain was like mesmerized by the jump to 3D with Mortal Kombat 4, I still love, Mortal Kombat 3 to me had the most like fun hidden stuff, like babyalities and animalities. Animalities are hilarious.
They're ridiculous.
And
Did you know how to do them? You have to like win one round but lose one. You can't block or you can't jump. There's like all these conditions. And I'm like, how in the world
did people figure that out? Yeah. Well, and there's that. So there's that, and then there's that animalities were a result of like there were rumors in Mortal Kombat 2 that there were nudalities.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I do remember that.
So that was a big thing. But like animalities were also there was animalities and nudalities, and so that was actually inspired Midway to be like, oh yeah, let's include animalities in.
There was never any nudalities.
There was never
that was
any, and
always a
never
rumor.
intended any nudalities. Yes, as far as I know, there have never been any nudalities.
There's never any nudity in any Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm. All right. What is your favorite or your top 3 favorite fighters, favorite characters in Mortal Kombat? Any Mortal Kombat game, all of them, across all of them.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Well, Sub-Zero is always my favorite.
Okay.
He's always been my main. I've always loved Sub-Zero. I've rotated through the other various ninja, and I feel lame thinking that. So I'm not going to just list off ninja copies, but I liked Reptile, Ermac, Rain, Noob Saibot, Smoke.
Yeah, you're naming more than 3. You get 3.
I know, but I'm just saying as a caveat, I loved
gotcha.
all the ninja ones, but I don't want to count those as my top 3. I want to be a little bit more fun.
Diverse,
Kung Lao is my second.
Okay.
He's a Razor Hat guy.
Okay.
He has a teleport kick.
Gotcha.
Awesome. And then I think Katana's coming to mind.
Okay.
I liked Katana a lot and her Razor fans.
Yeah.
And she had this cool like lift you up thing and then like a jump in the air and smack you, and it was awesome.
Nice. My top 3 are going to be way lamer, but that's because, again, when my favorite times during Mortal Kombat, I was like a kid.
Yeah.
There was... My favorite all time is Reptile.
Really?
Yeah, I love... When Mortal Kombat came out, I was in a, like... Not only did I love animals, like I wanted to work for like the Wildlife Safety Federation, like, 'cause I was like, I just want to work with animals. Loved animals when I was a kid, but specifically I loved dinosaurs. So I was just totally into just the reptile aesthetic thing. So Reptile was my favorite of the ninjas and probably my favorite Mortal Kombat character of all time. I also love Smoke and
Robot Smoke or Ninja Smoke?
Robot Smoke.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was a gray ninja in Mortal Kombat 2.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then I also like, and you know, like his name, is it Timberwolf? Is he the one with the like the vibro, like he summoned like the spirit axes?
Yep.
I loved that. I don't know why. I was just like,
he had a hawk. I thought it was Nighthawk.
Nighthawk, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Who am I thinking of? Is Timberwolf from a different game or something?
I don't know. There's T-Hawk from Street Fighter.
Yeah, Nightwolf, I guess is what it is. Yeah, I love Nightwolf. So those is my favorite Mortal Kombat characters.
Nice.
All right. Next is I'm gonna move some things around a little bit. What's your favorite fatality? But that can be any of the ality. That can be babyality, friendship, or animality, whatever. What's your favorite ality?
There's so many. I loved Kung Lao's slice you in half, like with his razor hat. He would just go zip, and then 2 halves of your bodies would fall apart separately. That was pretty sweet. But that was matched by Noob Saibot's Mortal Kombat 9 fatality, where he clones himself, because Noob Saibot's like the Shadow Ninja.
Sure.
So he'd create a clone of himself and then grab the arm and leg on each side of a person and then pull them apart. And they would rip in half from their pelvis up to their head.
Oh boy, yep.
And so it's very similar fatality. Maybe I just like seeing people cut in half from top to bottom. I don't know, but
I think so. It sounds like it.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many good ones. Anyway,
I always liked the comedic ones. That's part of the reason why I loved babyalities and animalities. But I think that the one that stands out, my single favorite fatality, is actually a character that I don't really care that much about. But Liu Kang has a fatality. I think it's his fatality 2 in Mortal Kombat 3. But he like summons an arcade cabinet of Mortal Kombat that falls on his opponent and squishes them. And so you just see all their bits go everywhere. And then he like thumbs up the screen. And also what I loved about Liu Kang is the whole like the sound effect. All of his moves, he'd go wah.
Yeah.
But like you could chain them together, so he was just like you could start another one while the other one was still finishing. So you just hear this like wah 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 wah.
The hyper exaggerated kung fu movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just remember all of that about Liu Kang.
Was he modeled? Was Bruce Lee the?
I think he was the inspiration. Of Liu Kang for sure.
That's funny. Yeah.
Cool. What is your favorite spin-off content?
I mean, I understand why it was bad, but Mortal Kombat Mythology is Sub-Zero, because Sub-Zero is my favorite character, and I was I wanted that game to be so good, and I wanted to enjoy that. It's a story-driven game, it has RPG elements, but mechanically it is so bad that it just ruined everything. It had like these live-acted cutscenes that were campy and cheesy, but I loved them because there's a special place in my heart for cheesy. That's awesome. So, I like Mortal Kombat Mythology. I have a copy over here. Occasionally, I boot it up and laugh at it. Yeah. And wish it was better.
I wish it was better. I love the first Mortal Kombat movie. Like, I love it. It's similarly so cheesy and campy, but I feel like it came out in the 90s, and it was one of the last. Again, it was just such an homage to 80s culture, to like 80s movie culture. even though it kind of came out a little bit after the 80s, but it's just
we had a whole episode about movie adaptations of video games, and I think I talked about Mortal Kombat being my favorite one.
Yeah, it's a fun one. I mean, it's hard to watch now by today's standards. But if you can just kind of like
the reptile like CGI at the end, how bad that was.
Oh, it's awful. Yeah, and then like Shao Kahn or whatever, his like spirit like form or god form or whatever, like coming up out of the and Raiden's like, well, we gotta get to work. Like, it's just such an 80s movie. It's so good.
Yeah.
Cool. Now I wrote this one at lunch today, and I don't know. I think I know what I meant by it, but I don't know what my answer was, so I might need a second to think. But I wrote down, what's your favorite Mortal Kombat quote ism? Like, Mortal Kombat ism. So, like, just your favorite quirk about the Mortal Kombat series.
Toasty.
So, whatever, like, quirky thing, like, whether it's a, like sound effect that they use, or even just the idea of fatalities, or just something around the marketing of it, or whatever. Like, it could be anything really, like a little thing from the game that kind of just makes it a Mortal Kombat game. What's your
I just said that. Toasty.
Toasty?
Yeah. It's when you uppercut someone and the guy comes out of the corner and just yells toasty in like a high-pitched voice. You're like, what? What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
That's actually how you fight Smoke in Mortal Kombat 2. You have to do a button combination, and then when he comes, and so I remember like spamming uppercuts trying to do it so I could fight. Oh, yeah. Ridiculous.
I would say, I guess, I think I already hit on it, but like the Liu Kang
wah,
wah, wah, wah thing, like this just sticks out of my head so much.
You've also imitated it a lot on this episode.
I did, so.
Was the deep voice.
Yes.
It's like, test your might.
Yeah. Fatality.
Yeah.
No, that's totally a Mortal Kombat thing. But it's like, it's become so much part of pop culture, that idea, finish him. Like, it's so, but it's hard to remember that, that comes from Mortal Kombat. Like, it's become such a cultural touchstone of like video game culture and like fighting culture, that it's hard to remember that, like, that started Mortal Kombat. It's awesome. So, finish him.
Yeah.
And the Mortal Kombat.
That was all that marketing and PR.
I know. So good. Such a well-marketed game.
We were in elementary school. We were eating it up.
Yep.
At least I was. I was in 3rd grade when Mortal Kombat 2 came out. I had no business being so excited about that game. I lost sleep over it. What in the world?
Crazy.
Yeah.
All right. What impact, influence, innovation has Mortal Kombat brought to the industry or culture at large? What is Mortal Kombat's legacy, if you will?
The ESRB.
The ESRB. Yep. And we've talked. If you want to know more about the ESRB and its origins, we talked to great length about it in an episode of our podcast. So.
Yeah. The violence controversy actually reached the Senate, and they were going to make legislation on it, and the video game community was like, "No, we'll self-regulate."
We got it.
And created the ESRB to create, rules and regulations and ratings that you now see on the box that indicate there's violence. Yeah.
I mean, we hit on some of them. Like, again, like just the whole, so much of our culture harkens back to, the song itself is just like the that they did for the movie and stuff. Like that is now synonymous with like, they're going to fight. Like, yeah. It's what people do when they're like going to get into a fight or something, or talk about getting into a fight. Dun, 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 dun. Just all of the ideas of fatalities, finish him, all that stuff has just been like...
Yeah, it was the shock value was revolutionary in arcades.
Yeah.
And it's just created this hype and this like mass hysteria to run to the arcades and lines, and like the whole arcade culture was changed in the early 90s because of this.
Well, yeah, and the idea of it created the exploitation genre, which, even though I might take some... I'm annoyed at that description of it, like... Nevertheless, it's the idea of like, it kind of started the trend of like, let's use this like almost comical overuse of violence to really like sell our game, like to make our game attractive, and you may have like feelings and opinions on that, but I think it's kind of fun. Like I think that there is a point at which like the violence can be just so over the top and ridiculous that it no longer even becomes like, it just becomes amusing. Like the big grin on your face as when talking about like people being ripped in half from the knaves to the chops, like unseamed. Like it's amusing to think about. It's hilarious.
It's weird because in the footage from Mortal Kombat 11 that they've shown off since has shown a lot of these new X-ray attacks and and they're going again over the top, raising the bar.
Yep.
Like some of them actually are jarring, and I'm like, And then there's one where it like ends with a knife coming through someone's back of their head, and it pokes the back of their eye, so their eye comes out of their socket.
I've seen that.
And
Yeah,
it
I've seen
ends like that, so it has and a screen freezes at a zoom in on just his eye coming out of his head with a dagger behind it. I think it's Scorpion's spear, but it's just to me that made me laugh, and I was like, that's ridiculous.
I can't believe we've gone through an entire podcast about Mortal Kombat without once saying, "Get over here."
Yeah, I mean that's another culturalism.
Staple. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just I mean, maybe someone's gonna listen to this episode and be like, oh my gosh, Penguin and Termite are glorifying violence. Whatever your opinions are on violence, we respect those, and we're not gonna say, to each their own, but I just think it's the way that Mortal Kombat does it is fun, and they've always made it fun. That's the thing. It's just, there's something it's cathartic. At the very least, it's cathartic because we don't get to do we don't get to think about and do this kind of stuff. So if you're offended by it, we respect that. But for us personally, we would hope that you would respect our kind of
enjoyment of it,
gleeful boyhood joy that we just get when we just see Mortal Kombat. I mean, I remember I think it was the first time I kind of understood how anatomy works from a twisted perspective. I'm like, oh yeah, theoretically, you could lift someone up by their skull and have their spinal cord dangle along.
I guess that's what kids do when they play Mortal Kombat. Yeah, exactly. Is learn anatomy.
Yeah, they'll learn how anatomy works. I remember being fascinated by the idea of oh yeah, your spine is actually attached to your head.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if you could,
Your spine's also attached to every rib and pelvis. So
yeah.
It's
yeah. Such a ridiculous game. I love it.
Don't let your kids play Mortal Kombat.
Absolutely.
I'm not letting my kid play it
sure.
at my age. I'm not doing that.
Nope.
Yes, be knowledgeable about games and your kids. And
be very aware.
If you want to let your kids play them, that's on you. That's fine. I'm not going to tell you how to parent your kid, but just
be aware that it is a very violent franchise.
Yes.
And our parents probably shouldn't have let us play
they just didn't know.
those games.
They had no idea what was.
Yeah. So.
Until it hit the news and it was in the set it, and by then it was too late.
Good times. Mortal Kombat. All right. What would you like to see more of from Mortal Kombat games in the future? Or, as I like to say, what's your Mortal Kombat wish list?
I am trash for remasters and remakes. So I want a giant Mortal Kombat collection that has all entries to Mortal Kombat, including their spin-offs. There's Shaolin Monks, Sub-Zero Mythologies, all of them bundled up into some awesome package with tons of PS4 trophies that I can just be swimming Scrooge McDuck on a mountain of trophies. I just want to do that with Mortal Kombat and run through them all because that would be awesome.
Yeah.
If I could have one game remade, it would be Mortal Kombat Mythologies.
Nice.
If you could just make that something awesome, completely redo it, and just make it great, that would be sweet.
I think I want more. I think this is something I want more from fighting games in general. I just want crossover. I want more crossovers. I want Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter. I want Mortal Kombat versus Tekken, but at Mortal Kombat's level of ridiculous, violence. I love what Smash Bros has done with crossovers, just bringing in, because it lets you really answer those questions that we all like to talk about. Who would win in a fight? Goku versus Superman. I want to know who would win in a fight. Liu Kang versus Nightmare from Soul Calibur. You know what I mean? I want to see fighting game characters just go head to head. So
Soul Calibur have weapons. Well, I guess Mortal Kombat
had weapons, yeah.
Yeah, they added those in Mortal Kombat 4
Plus,
as
if
well.
you're a real fighter, you can beat someone even if they have weapons.
Ooh.
Boom. Yeah. Happens all the time in Smash. Sword characters are not always the best characters in Smash.
Not anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So if Donkey Kong can beat
Ike.
Marth, that was close. Wow, we were very close.
How about that?
then Scorpion could beat Ivy or whatever.
Sure.
So, yeah. Cool.
That's a good matchup because Ivy's got the little sword that extends,
Yeah. They both have kind of whip-like attacks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good matchup. Mm-hmm. Good job, Penguin. Make it happen, Midway and the developers of Soul Calibur are slipping my mind.
Midway doesn't exist anymore.
Sad. Didn't they make Gauntlet as well?
They were, yeah. It was a Midway arcade game, yeah.
Oh, I almost feel like we can't do it too soon because we did
an episode on
Mortal
Gauntlet.
Kombat, but I think a developer profile on Midway would be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, even though they're gone.
Yeah.
Sad.
Now Mortal Kombat's made by NetherRealm Studios, which NetherRealm is a world in Mortal Kombat. So it was a studio
specifically designed
just to make Mortal Kombat.
Kind of like 343 Industries was made just to make Halo games. Yeah, cool.
And Warner Brothers is the publisher.
Cool. All right. Well, that was our episode on Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. Flawless victory.
Finish it. If you have thoughts on Mortal Kombat, if you love the franchise as much as we do, or if you think it's just the worst thing in the world and want to share that with us, then you can find us at all the places Termite said earlier, but it's gonna say again.
I am? Okay. You can find us on Twitter.
I can do it, but
Instagram,
I'm gonna be bad at
Facebook, Reddit, all 80-bit Podsmash. The best place for you to start discussions is probably Reddit.
Yup, do it.
If you share us with your friends on Facebook and Twitter, give us some retweets, give us some comments. That would be awesome to help us get some more exposure. Tell your friends about us if you enjoyed it. The worst thing you might come about you is you'll be called a gamer.
No.
The most important and single homework for everyone is to go to iTunes and leave a review. And that is to allow us to be bubbled up through the algorithms that allow discoverability for new people who are trying to find new podcasts.
We would appreciate it.
So please do that.
Cool. And until next week, have a good week.
Don't have a good week until next week?
Nope. Just have all the good weeks all the time.
Okay, see you next week.